Hello, we continue our knowledge sharing mission today through a series of interviews with marketing leaders from all over the world. And we're thrilled today to have Cate Mills with us. Good morning, Cate. How are you? Could you just tell us a quick bit about yourself and your journey and what sparked your interest in marketing?
Sure thing. So yes, my name is Cate. I'm the Marketing Director for APJ. So my role covers field, channel, and demand generation for Trellix, who is a cybersecurity company in the global market. I don't think that there was ever going to be any other path but marketing for me. I knew from a very, very young age. I loved event management when I was 10. I'd organize events. I did my school formals in year 10 and year 12. I've always had just an inherent built-in love of marketing and events for as long as I can remember. So I was quite lucky to be able to actually get into it at uni and study for a couple of years. And then, I've just been a lifelong career marketer.
Fantastic. Now, it's a big question, this, but as a marketing director, what is currently your main marketing focus?
Sure. So, we've actually had quite a strategy shift in 2025, but it's one that I'm actually quite excited about and that I'm really enjoying so far, and that we are moving to a customer-first approach with an ABM strategy. So one of the things I like about an ABM strategy is that it really does enable us to just focus on the accounts which are going to generate the most value for the business. Also, when we're looking at resources internally, anything to do with an ABM campaign is much more efficient in our use and effective in our use of resources. When we're talking both headcount resources, budgetary resources, and those relationships between all the different departments that are needed in order to get these things off the ground. I like that ABM, generally speaking, is more tangible and enables lots of touch points with our customers. And the whole point of that being is to develop better relationships and increase the stickiness of the customer. So I like that it puts the customer first and addressing the needs of the customer rather than us looking outwardly, telling people what we want them to know about us. One of the other things that I think has been a really, really fun byproduct for me in the developing of this new ABM strategy is it really brings all functions of the business together in that same common goal. So while typically, I would obviously work with sales and with SEs and, some of those peripheral ones, doing this ABM strategy, you're working with sales and SEs, but you're also working with RevOps and the customer support team and the renewals team, education services, professional services. It is an all-encompassing. So everyone in the business is driving the success together. And I think that that's one of the really, really great things that a properly sought out and executed ABM strategy is capable of doing.
Definitely. I would highly agree. And I think it's very good. Well, I'm seeing it a lot more at the moment that people are really driving this strategy. And I completely agree with the buy-in from multiple functions in the business. Then that can only drive positive results. And you also have that sort of testing metric and you can really make it data-driven.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with anything. Even when we were doing, more of that net new logo demand gen type thing, everything revolves around having internal buy-in. If the sales don't believe in what marketing is doing, they're not going to drive it. If the SEs don't believe in what marketing is doing, they're not going to help deliver that content. So by building it all together, you're essentially guaranteeing everyone's buy-in for this approach. And then everybody has that inner incentive to make it work. So I think it's such a good approach. It's one that I've pushed in the past, and I'm in my element and absolutely embracing it this year. So it's been really fun.
Nice. Great to hear. And maybe, to break that down further, is there any particular successful marketing campaign that your teams recently executed that maybe you could share a bit more insights into?
So recently, we're still in the initial stages of building out this ABM approach, and we've been executing it into 2025. But I've found that the C-level roundtables, while, every business does that regardless of what strategy you're going for, when we're going with this customer first approach and doing these, when you've got a topic that really, really resonates with your customers, and you've got someone there that can actually talk through their needs and have the right people in the room, it generates much more positive results. So in terms of that cross-sell, upsell options, and there's nothing more enjoyable for me as a marketer than when you're sitting in the corner of the room, making sure that everything's fine and everyone's happy, but you're seeing people actively engage in debate and conversation, and people realizing real value out of these conversations. And your business and you have managed to drive this for them and do that. So I really enjoy seeing the end result on how it benefits others. So I've been seeing that so far this year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that continues to grow over the course of the year.
100%. I think, the value and seeing those aha moments in real life is so satisfying, and it makes a difference to these people, and then you're on the right track.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And what's your biggest marketing challenge at the moment?
There's definitely a few challenges at the moment in the market, is what I would say. I think at the moment, budgets in general, not just talking specific to Trellix, but when you look into the research, Gartner did a annual report on marketing spend last year, and from memory, I think budgets have dropped nearly 8% of overall company revenue. So this is a 15% decrease from the previous year. So we're seeing across the board that there is a decrease in budget and also a consolidation of the functions within the marketing team as a whole. So we're being expected to do less and take on additional work because it's marketing. But, from where I'm sitting, to get the most out of a marketing department and the business unit as a whole, you need to have the experts across all the facets. So, it's field, it's channel, it's brand, it's content, product, PR, digital, everybody has a different role to play in this business, and they are all important individual purposes within the marketing team. It's a roll up multiples into one, cutting your nose off to spite your face. If you're out there as a business, you're wanting to build a brand, you're wanting to do that brand awareness, you have to look at marketing holistically. And also one of the hardest things I think out there is when they do reduce the spend, very rarely comes with a reduction in targets. So, it becomes much harder to do the job with less money and less people. But on the flip side, I do think that if you've got the right type of people in your team, they do look at that as an opportunity. So I know there are certain people in our wider team that have absolutely embraced AI. They are as good as our engineers and our technical teams in executing activities with AI. And so I think it's one of those things where it's with every challenge, you look for the opportunity. I also think, it gives you that chance to think outside the square. When you've got endless budget, you can just keep doing what you're doing. But every time it drops down, it forces you to be more creative. And so I actually think that every marketer should at least have one role where they're really, really challenged, because it may be tough when you're doing it at the time, But when you come out of it at the other end and you actually look at what experience you got out of it, you realize that you learned so much more because you were forced to think outside the square. So, you know, like I said, for every negative, there is a positive. It just depends on which way you look at it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that adversity, as you say, generates that creativity and the resourcefulness. And I think, you know, maybe like you mentioned earlier, sort of pushes you more into that ABM model, because you do need to sort of focus everything down and make sure, you know, everything is on point and you're not wasting any dollars.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And you touched upon sort of AI, but in a more general sense, how does your company stay ahead of its competitors in terms of marketing?
In terms of marketing, look, I've got to do a shout out to my VP of growth marketing here. Like, he's an operations guy at heart, but he is so focused, and what he has managed to achieve in the 2 years he's been here in terms of being able to show the value and provide tangible reports and everything on what marketing does has been amazing. Like, when I started here, it was very hard to even know the general ROI of any activity we did. And, you know, they brought in a marketing operations team, and, you know, the level of detail that we are actually able to go down into and drill down for every activity, for every account, like, it's some of the best I've ever seen anywhere. And I think that's one of the biggest advantages for us as a marketing team, because everything we do is ground in data. You know, everything is a data-driven decision, and it's not just to stick a finger in the air and go, oh, I think we're going to do that. Or, you know, the next level down, we've always done it, so we're going to do it. Like, it forces us to look at our activities after we've run them and go, all right, general sentiment was great, but did it actually deliver results? And I love seeing the data side of things. I don't have the skill set that he does necessarily. I'm okay with Excel, but, you know, I don't go down that far. But he's, you know, the ability to actually see all of that, I think, is also really important for the marketing team as a whole to show their value, and to really solidify, like, our seat at the table. Yeah, in the executive suite. So it's been absolutely transformational for this business.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, yeah, the more sort of tangible results that marketing can give, like, often there isn't that, and it seems like, you know, you can only prove that to the sort of senior leadership at the moment, and get those sort of, well, hopefully some bigger budgets, or more targeted campaigns. Awesome.
Yeah.
And personally, what do you believe is the biggest opportunity for marketing leaders today that might not have been available in the past?
I think, well, coming back to the previous point, like, there is so much better ways to report and analyze our spend now, that we're able to actually go to the business and show tangible results on what we generate, much more than we did 10 years or even 5 years ago. You know, marketing was much more siloed and kind of seen as a support function for the business, as opposed to, you know, an actual unit that helps generate and works with the business as a whole. You know, I think that's one of the biggest advantages that we have now than we previously did. I'm loath to bring AI into every answer, and I'm going to make sure that I absolutely don't. But, you know, with the ability to utilize tools, we're able to be much more efficient with what we're doing. And in being efficient in what we're doing, it gives us more time to do the things that we want. And it's not necessarily about, like, plugging something into ChatGPT and, you know, getting them to create a whole campaign, but, like, even if it's just reducing the amount of admin that you can do, like, where you can automate any of those things. and you can take that workload down from 5 hours to 1. You've gained 4 hours in which you can actually do work that does generate value. So I think AI is an absolutely brilliant opportunity for every marketer, regardless of what level they're at today, that I certainly didn't have, you know, in the past. I know certain campaigns I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had just had this 15 years ago, just think of what I could have done. So I think that that's really one of the biggest opportunities out there, is those data-driven decisions, and using AI for good.
Yeah, fantastic. And looking into the future, what's the future of marketing look like for you?
Look, I think it's just a bit more of everything that I've kind of talked about, like just taking everything up that next level. You know, once again, with the AI, with the ability to be more efficient on tasks, it's going to enable us to do more things. I think that there is going to be a much stronger focus around dollar impact of activities from more than just field marketing as well, because like I said, there's so many different areas of marketing. And even though not everything can be measured, we need to, you need to take that data-driven approach, and then also take, a reasonable approach. Like it is not as easy to define the success of a billboard over an email campaign. Like, they are obviously two very different things, but in the same token, they're trying to achieve two different things. Like, one is branding and is about building brand awareness, and one is about marketing and it is about getting customers to understand your product. So they're out there trying to achieve different things. And so I think even though we do take that data-driven approach, we do need to still understand that there is very important parts of marketing that are not always easy to quantify.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, awesome. Then, so yeah, what's a piece of traditional leadership advice that you believe doesn't apply to modern marketing leaders?
All right, might sound a bit controversial initially, but hear me out. But like, traditionally, marketing's role is to make sales's job easier. Now, I'm not saying that that is not important. It is very important for us to do that. But I think sometimes along the way, we focus on our internal stakeholders so much that the buyer's journey actually gets lost in the process. So I think that we really, really need to take that customer first approach, and building out marketing campaigns that are built with the customer in mind and not internal stakeholders and not our own products that we're trying to push. Like, our job is to communicate their needs, their pain points, and how we as a business address their concerns, not the other way around. The tactics can be driven by the strategy, but at the heart of it, if you're not addressing the customer needs, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
So, not saying sales aren't important. They are absolutely fundamental to every single business. But without customers, businesses don't exist.
Definitely. Yeah. I was gonna bring in a quite a sort of niche reference, but yeah, I think with anything, right? You can spend a lot of energy on stuff thinking it's the right sort of area, but when you just sort of calibrate and think of that end user or person, then I think you can get to that success point far quicker.
It's just doing that customer research. Like, speak to the customer, find out what it is that they want to know. Tell them what they want to know. Don't tell them what you think they want to know. Like,
my odd reference was, I remember when my daughter was young and I had somewhere to be and I really needed to get her to sleep. And so I would try to get her to bed by 7 p.m. and my mind was going and I was really trying to sort of rock her on my on my sort of objectives. And then as soon as you just relax and think about her and everything like that, she would go to sleep 50% quicker. But until I actually thought about that, rather than sort of me going through the motions, it works way better. But that's my
very, very true. Very true. I've had the same problem with my kids multiple times.
Yeah, it is. Okay. And final question. What career advice would you share with other marketing leaders?
Leaders or just generally anyone in the industry?
Yeah, maybe people coming into marketing on their way up.
Yep. I'd say, and I throw this around quite a bit, but a lot of people don't know that full quote about the jack of all trades. And it's a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. Now, the whole concept of that is it's great to be an expert in something, but it can, in many instances, be better to be good at a number of things. So I think especially when it comes to marketing, this is actually really, really important because, you know, as I mentioned before, marketing is so broad and covers so many different functions across the business from, like I said, field, PR, corporate affairs and comms, design, product, content marketing. I'd say in the early part of everyone's career, have a go at everything and develop at least a basic skill set across a few of them. And then you can kind of hone into, you know, what it is that you're most interested in. I personally think there is a lot to be said for staying a generalist. You know, I don't like to be pigeonholed. That's personally me. But I also do think that by keeping a really broad view of marketing, it gives you more opportunities for growth in your career. I'm never bored. Like, you know, there's always different aspects in which you can learn. So I think that's a really, really important one. Once again, flip side, doesn't mean that you have to be everything to everyone. And I think that is the most important thing as an individual that you can learn in your career. Like, I have a broad skill set across many of those different areas, but I'm not trying to be all of those things. You know, if you spread yourself too thin constantly, you know, you're not going to get the results that you want for yourself. One other piece of advice I think is also important when it comes to marketing, and it's across the board, whether you're starting, whether you've been there ages, you have to have a thick skin, because marketing is just one of those functions that everybody has an opinion on. You know, everyone thinks that they can do something better, you know, that they know the customers better, that they know this. Like, you need to be confident in your decision-making process. Like, you are the marketer, you are the expert. So, you know, take their feedback on board, say thank you. There have been plenty of times where I've gone, actually, I haven't thought of that angle. You know, I appreciate that different view, but trust yourself as the expert and learn not to take any of that constructive feedback as criticism, because most people are not doing it to be critical. Like, it is just inherently built into so many people that they want to help, and it can come across negatively, but it doesn't need to be negative.
Yeah. And do you think that's because, like, you know, marketing is one of the functions that is a key of everyone's lives? So everyone is sort of just
everyone's yes,
with it.
And so everybody sees it, everybody experiences it, everyone is a customer for something. Like, it is inherently in everything that we do. I also think in some aspects, like, it's a bit more fun than other areas. Like, you know, you could be someone who's in one of those traditionally conservative type roles that, you know, spends more time in Excel, as an example. But I know lots of people that are secretly creative. under that, and you'd never know. And you get some of the coolest answers out of people that you wouldn't traditionally think. Like, as a completely random example, my brother is a police officer, and he comes out with some of the greatest ideas I've ever heard when it comes to marketing, and not just specific, nothing to do with my job, but when he sees things out there in the world, he's like, oh, it would have been cool if they did this. And it's, you would never expect that from that traditional type of role. So, I think it's something that people resonate with, that people relate to. And to be honest, if they're giving you opinions, it means that they care, and it means that they're interested. So once again, it's all about how you view it. Like, it doesn't have to be a negative. It can absolutely be a positive. And you never know what gold little nuggets could come out of people. Like I said, I've had some really interesting ones in my time from people you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, you would rather have them than not.
Yeah, absolutely. And there have been a few that I've actually executed on, and credited straight back and gone, I would never have thought to do that, but actually it worked brilliantly. So, and that's, once again, everyone working together for the good of the business. So it's always positive to see that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Cate, for taking part in the series.
Thank you for having me, Neil. It's been a fun day.
Great stuff.
You too. I will. Thank you.